I accept our very fervent gratitude once again for choosing to spare part of your precious time in our very humble company as we set sail on another Canal Do English special journey, an installment in which we question the future of the protracting Anglophone crisis following the government deployed peace and dialogue enhancing missions to the English-speaking Northwest and Southwest regions last week. Kindly make yourselves comfortable as we hit the road in a moment.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
She was with us last week. She's currently flanking me on the left. She's called Indira Eteng. She's still a journalist. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Steven.
You feel comfortable talking about the Anglophone crisis, correct?
I'm an Anglophone. Whatever is happening in the English-speaking regions of the country concerns me particularly, and I have to be concerned.
Sometimes they say it's tough to take out your emotions from reporting the crisis, right?
Yeah,
it's a tough job.
It's a tough job, but being a journalist, we have to be able to make the difference, report objectively, and not get too emotional.
Thanks for coming once again.
It's always my pleasure.
Thanks for bringing along such eloquence too. Now on my right is Henry Kejang Atembe. He's from the House. He's of course our political desk guru. Henry, it's a pleasure. Huh?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to Indira. Sometimes I call her Indira Gandhi, but that's a name that is almost disappearing.
You're taking us back to India. Our history classes in secondary school.
Right. Indira Gandhi. Welcome, Indira.
Thank you very much.
So I was asking Indira, it's always a tough job reporting conflicts like currently obtained in Cameroon when you are from where the conflict is bringing up from.
Yes,
it's tough.
It's tough, really, but don't forget that before being part of the conflict, you are a professional. So you just need to draw the line, and that is why the national.
No, but the lines begin to blur because
yes,
you could
whatever
be
thing you do,
whatever
thing you do, you can be professional, but some people look at it as being biased. And it's not easy to goof the editorial lines, so you might not necessarily be considered objective. However, and I used to say it's just like a doctor if he's in front of his own child. Sometimes you might not be able to handle the issue very well. So, but that notwithstanding, we are doing everything at our utmost to stay within the confines of the profession.
Thanks for coming, gentlemen and woman. I should have started with you. They say gentlemen and women, but I turned it around. So between October 16 and 20, delegations of government deployed emissaries crisscrossed Cameroon's English-speaking Northwest and Southwest regions in desperate bids to enhance dialogue as a means of finding a long and lasting solution to the crisis plaguing the country since October 2016. And days after we ask, what next? And that's the opening talking point. I was going to lose my speech there, Indira. Is that an emerging bone of contention to you? What next after the emissaries have done their job?
Well, they have done their job, but have they, has the problem come to an end? Did they make any significant, leave any significant marks in the northwest region of the country? I would say no. The dialogue is far from over.
Okay.
There's still a lot to be done, a lot to touch. And I think more delegations will be coming to the northwest and southwest regions in the days ahead. It's not over.
Henry, some say, especially considering the fact that there is an information blackout on the timelines and time frames for the dialogue, nobody knows if it's a one-off or if there are upcoming dialogue.
Yes,
sessions.
You are correct. We are gravitating from one error to another. As the days ebb out, we gravitate from one error to another.
In fact, what do you mean plainly?
That is to say, from when the crisis started, we were committing errors along the line, coming down.
So what's the error being committed? The blackout on information?
There is information blackout. Two, there is an issue of time frame. People rushed over, because a dialogue is not something you need to rush over. Right.
Take time and build the foundation.
Take time and build the foundation. Don't forget that when the minister of they call him a minister, I don't know if He's a minister. I'm talking about Paul Gogomumingo.
He's a cabinet director of the
Yes,
Prime
he's a
Minister's
minister,
office,
minister
to be
cabinet,
precise.
and so okay. When he published the list of those, Barrister Nkongo Felix revoked it and said we revoke the delegation. That is already a pointer to the fact that people did not welcome the delegation, whatever thing they did. And as Indira was saying, the job is seemingly not complete. Let us not worry about sending the reports to the president's office, because that is the next thing that
They
we
had a
do.
deadline, the 20th of October, to have the reports compiled
Yeah, okay.
at the level of the divisions. Anyway.
Former Prime Minister Peter Mafani Musonge said his work is done, and that he will transfer or transmit the documents to the necessary quarters.
To hierarchy, precisely. Is it going to be a huge blunder, Indira, if this turns out to be a one-off? You said previously there's need for continuity,
Yeah.
and that's the only way you build
Yes.
long-lasting dialogue.
That's the only way
frameworks.
to build long-lasting, because obviously, from all indications, not everyone was satisfied with the mission of this latest delegation. Many people had so much to put in, maybe solutions to propose to the young-led delegation, but they did not have that
That was in
opportunity.
the Northwest,
Yes.
Philemon Yang, because in
Yes.
the Southwest you had former Prime Minister
Yes,
Peter
of
Mafani
course.
Musonge.
Now, all of these things need to be put together. They need, like I was saying last week, they needed to delegate leaders, those who are representing the Northwest and Southwest regions of the country. So today the mission has come and gone, or the delegation has come and gone. We do not know who exactly was representing the people of the Northwest and Southwest regions of the country. First of all, Agbobala is one person that the Anglophones look up to, or let's say people in the Northwest and Southwest
Oh,
regions
so in other
look
words,
up to.
you want to see him on the starting blocks of
Not
any dialogue
necessarily.
reinitiation?
Not necessarily, but he's one person that the people look up to. And if he, from the start, has already ruled out this delegation, I think many people will want to go with him
All right.
for so many reasons. We elucidated some of these reasons last week, and we can still bring up some today. There's just so many reasons why it was almost a failed mission. Like we were saying last week, there is need to appease the people before dialogue can move on.
And appeasing them means, releasing all those who are still held in detention.
Well, releasing them, yes, but trying them too will be good. For those who actually are being accused of something,
Okay.
it will be necessary that they are tried, because they being behind bars for close to a year now with nobody saying anything, it makes no sense. And you cannot want to make peace with people who like that. You're holding somebody behind bars and you've not told him what his crime is. For others whose crimes are known, they have not been tried yet.
Okay.
You cannot be wanting to make peace under such conditions.
And I guess it's on that score that some schools of thought are holding and insistently holding that the logical next step, Henry, would be for Anglophones to sit, grassroots Anglophones to sit and be the ones to delegate who talks with the
Yes,
government.
and
in this case.
that is the initial objective of someone like Dr. Simon Muzu.
We're actually going to come to Dr. Simon
Good.
Munzu
Okay.
as we move on.
And so yes, you are right. When you meet communities, because we don't know who was who or who talked with who
Yeah.
during the dialogue, in quotes, during the dialogue. I remember the last time Barrister Ashwago talked of a community, or say an open air meeting. It's just like a CPDM campaign towards a fact finding, because it's nothing different from the fact finding. Let us know what is wrong. I remember that when former Prime Minister Peter Mafani Musonga came out in his interview, I suppose you have it, he said, we have understood the problem. That was no dialogue, so we have understood. It means that they went to
pinpoint exactly what he said.
Yes.
they went to listen to the people and said, well, the Anglophones raised the problem of roads. You can imagine if everything has been narrowed down, then
Actually says the Anglophones are a group of civilized persons whose major problem at the moment is effective decentralization. We're going to come squarely to that, but first of all,
the people, the community was not really involved, because we don't even know who went there. We didn't see. We're not seeing any document of the representatives of the people. Is it the chief who represented the whole village and talked on behalf of the village? The elites who came from Yaoundé, as usual, who were just standing and listening. So it's a whole cacophony of a dialogue process.
you mentioned Dr. Simon Munzu a couple of moments ago, Henry. He is a former United Nations advisor or council, if you don't mind. He is the initiator of the hibernating, because we've not seen it on its feet yet. an initiative called the Anglophone Dialogue Forum. When he set it up, he received lots and lots of backlashes because people said he was using the Anglophone crisis to reap political capital and reposition himself politically. But he says, and I think this is important, Indira, that it is time for Anglophones to come under one canopy, generate their ideas under what he proposes, the All Anglophone Conference 3, because we've had one in 1993, two in 1994. He says this is the time for a third, where you regroup all of those ideas under one canopy and then stand up to propose these to government. Is that correct? Is that the way to go?
It's not such a bad idea to bring Anglophones under one canopy, because right now, since October last year, there have been ideas from every corner, every
Dispersed
part of
rounds,
the world. Yes,
isolated.
everybody has something to propose, but there is no platform where all of these proposals are put together and maybe drafted out or put in on a clean sheet of paper for future use. I think it's not such a bad idea. The proposal of Dr. Munzo is not such a bad idea. Coming together, bringing Anglophones together in a conference will be beneficial. It will be beneficial because I think all of those many ideas will be put in one document, which may be used in the future.
And some say, that will be more credible than this example.
Yeah, because now people
the
are talking from left and right. If you go on social media, people are lamenting, people are expressing their frustration. There is really no panel,
nothing is documented.
Yes,
as
nothing
such.
is documented as such.
And that's how the people of Ngo-Kitunja division in the northwest region of Cameroon, that's one of the 13 divisions visited by the government deployed peace crusaders. They have inked 17 conditions as the basis for a return to calm in English-speaking Cameroon. First, the release of all detainees. Second, the demilitarization of these regions. And third, the installation of a federal system of government. That's just 3 among 17. And this is an indicator, like Indira says, Henry, that the Anglophones are finally functioning in diverse ranks. That's good news for the government.
It is even good news for the government. But then, even if the people of Ngo-Kitunja are saying theirs, it's not
the people of the Donga Mantong.
It's not different from what the people of Donga
that.
Mantong are saying, or the people of the BLM, or the people of Fako Division. In fact, it boils down to one thing. The voices might be coming from different parts of the country in dispersed ranks, but the one message is clear. This is what we want. This is what. Don't forget that in the Northwest region, they told President, Prime Minister Young, that go and tell President Paul Biya to come and talk to us.
The phone of same being law, actually.
And now the message has already gone down to the people. Now, if Prime Minister Young moves to the Southwest region, well, I think he will never move there. The message will still be the same. Go and tell President Paul Biya to come to us. So which means that it is the same thing that the Anglophones are saying, even those who are out of the two English-speaking part of the country, that why would Mr. Biya not move to the Southwest and Northwest region? Don't forget that initially when this crisis was at its peak, they had asked the president to make a statement. Well, as usual, just like the CPD people would like to put it, le temps du président n'est pas votre temps. Or like
is it wrong to say that?
That to say,
is it wrong to say that?
Well, it is wrong.
The way you say it is like you have
he's the president of the
grudge
people.
against the
His
CPD.
time should be
No,
everybody's
I don't
time.
have any grudge. My problem is that the house cannot be melting down. You know, there's magma, the house is sinking, and then you sit there.
And say the president works according to his agenda.
So it's an agenda. And don't forget again, I think that is what Mr. Musonga told the Anglophone, that the president has a church agenda. What church agenda?
Okay, I'm not sure you share the same idea, Indira, but some fault finders have been quick to write off the peace missions as another flop, another wastage of hard taxpayers' hard-earned money.
Exactly. That is one point. We cannot deny the fact that it is a total waste.
But
Cameroonians
don't you need a starting point? And this could be one of such starting points to initiate or re-initiate dialogue?
There is always a starting point. But when you've tried something 1, 2, 3 times and it fails, I don't see any reason why you should continue in that same line. Change tactics, change the road. If you are going left, maybe you should go right.
Change the casting? Change the target audience?
You cannot change the target audience. The target audience remains the Anglophones, Northwest, Southwest regions. Now, if you've been sending A, and A is going and he's not bearing any fruit, why not send B or C or maybe Z even and see what will happen? Because, like you just said, the taxpayers' money is seriously suffering here. they kept sending these delegations. That is, they send them. There's fuel. There is, and you can list. You can. The list is endless.
And please don't omit those who
nothing
went
happens.
abroad.
Of course, there's some who went abroad to
the
Canada.
USA.
Yes, they went to other parts of the world too. And really, we are in need of schools, we're in need of hospitals, of roads, of so many things. This is money that could have been invested for better use for Cameroonians, and I really do not see why they're wasting such money.
Thanks for bringing along your eloquence, right? That's the
It's
second
always
time
a
I'm saying
pleasure.
this. Now, Henry, I'll not ask you any further questions because we're going to listen to one beautiful, I don't know, that's me saying it's a beautiful report you did, or write up on exactly the theme for this first talking point. What next after the dialogue initiatives?
Consultation between the government and local communities seem to have ended, at least to go by the declaration of one of the emissaries of President Paul Biya in the person of Peter Mafani Mosonge.
Je suis fier de toi, et tant que je vivrai, je me battrai toujours pour tes couleurs.
The unilateral declaration by Peter Mafani Mosonge does not mean an end to the Anglophone crisis. Neither does it mean an end to dialogue. The Young and Musonga-led teams will forward their report to the President of the Republic. After all,
Soyons solidaires, construisons.
though there was a vivid disconnection between the communities and some delegation members of the peace mission, and as observers will put it, the efforts to abate the Anglophone crisis is a temporary one, as both parties, that is the Anglophones and the government, have seemingly walked into a tacit period of recess. As dissenting voices run through the airwaves and social media platforms, one can quickly decipher that the dust is yet to settle. Barrister Nkongo Felix Agbo immediately revoked the dialogue mission when the list was published by the Prime Minister's office for the same reasons that led to the collapse of dialogue. Everything said and done by the Young-led missions. The question now is, what next? Are the avalanche of problems raised by Anglophones for the past 5.5 decades going to be solved as promised by the emissaries? Is there going to be a constitutional change so that Anglophones should know where they belong to on this geographical space called Cameroon? Will Anglophones be considered as citizens with equal rights like Francophones, not as strangers in Cameroon? What will happen next if these issues raised are not addressed sincerely? As the different protagonists will put it, it is time to spread the cards on the table and sort out the jokers. If Cameroon needs peace, so the government needs to act and act fast.
Je suis fier de toi, et tant que je vivrai, je me battrai toujours pour tes couleurs.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Thanks enormously, Keja Henry Atembe, for that futuristic look at what may happen if the dialogues flop or if they finally succeed. Now, flanking me on the left is Barrister Achu Julius, who is no stranger to controversy, as you probably may discover or may have discovered. He is brave, and that's why he comes on our panel, despite the challenge we pose in front of him. Thanks once again for accepting our invitation, Barrister.
It's for me to thank you for inviting me.
I must say that our viewers were joyous. The reactions we had from last week have been very positive. Some say they didn't expect you to say the things you said.
You know, I'm a liberal thinker. I say what I think, and nobody controls what I think. In the circumstances,
that's why some call you
when we're here,
a very free thinker.
yeah, I'm a free thinker.
Even though you are string attached to the ruling CPD.
Oh, come on. The CPDM doesn't limit us as to what to say and how to say it. That's the freest party in the country.
Thanks once again for coming, Barrister. Now, on my right is senior legal luminary and political actor. He's been here several times. Barrister Agbo Ashu Emmanuel Omar, senior barrister. I need to do that precision. If not, I'll probably get some punches coming. Welcome.
Thank you.
Such a pleasure to have you. So what do you make of it? Barrister Dr. Agbo Bala, probably Cameroon's next president. Barrister Achu was saying it before we came back from Henry's report. Is that a feasibility?
Well, I would have rather you said probably Cameroon's next dreamer president, not next president, because he has to cross many hurdles.
You've been there before, and you probably know what you're talking about.
If he has to be president in this country, he will have to cross Reform Party and others.
we still need to hear from Reform Party. But now let's queue up from where Indira and Kejang left off. Away from the widely lambasted choice of the peace missionaries to the 13 divisions of the Northwest and Southwest regions, Barrister Achu Julius, many are also picking holes at the locals who were invited to the talking tables. Some say these were not the people to speak on behalf of those communities.
You see, I have a different view about it, in the sense that as of today, our Prime Minister is called Mr. Young Philemon.
Yes.
He has taken his responsibilities as Prime Minister and has organized what he's organized. And when people went, he delegated
on instructions
people,
from the President.
Yes, on instructions of the President. That notwithstanding, everything he does is on instruction of the President, because he's just the Prime Minister. Okay. So he's done what he's done.
He's head of government, please.
No, please.
He's head of government.
He's just a Prime Minister. If he was head of government, the president will not tell him what to do, how to manage the government. But as his Prime Minister, and the way our constitution presents everything, he has taken his responsibilities, following the instructions he received to do what he's done. We just have to respect that.
Isn't that too centralized?
In as much we may not share his opinion, but as of date, he is the Prime Minister, and he has taken a decision, and we just have to respect it.
Isn't that too centralist, Barrister Agbo Ashu, senior barrister? Because there are some critics who insist that rather than go condole with his brethren in his native Northwest region who suffered, they were victims of brutality in some cases, in quotes, people lost lives and so on. Rather than go condole with those people, he's coming as an envoy of the President of the Republic, rather than serving as an envoy of his own people to the President of the Republic.
Well, he is a public figure. He's a Prime Minister, as my Bennett colleague was saying.
A head of government, as you insisted.
Head of government. And it's not very easy for him to leave that position to come and represent the Anglophone people who never sent him there in the first place. So I think I will have a problem with the fact that he has never told the Cameroonian people that any person lost his life.
I'm obliged to make a correction. I think in Cameroon we don't elect barrister, we don't elect prime ministers.
Yes,
they're all
but
appointed by
this is
the
a prime minister who has never sent condolence messages, and I don't think in this circumstance he will say, well, the family of X lost this or the family of Y lost the other one. As prime minister, he ought to have sent condolence messages to the families that were bereaved. He didn't do that. Now he is coming as a messenger sent by his boss, and he has been there several times and he was rejected. Somebody said so. I don't know what was the reason for his going there again. He was asked last time in So, if you came here with Mancho BBC, would have listened to you.
All right.
This time he came back without Mancho BBC. He wanted who to listen to him. I mean, it was just a waste of time. They had better things to do with that money. You see, what I fear is some game that this government is trying to play, because United Nations and others are calling for dialogue. I think they're not trying to fool people to say that this mission they have sent like this is going to, that is the dialogue they are organizing.
How do you call the peace missions then?
What peace mission?
If they're not for dialogue,
what peace mission? This government has never said there is a problem in former West Cameroon. They've never said so. They said the people were there. Look, remember, Chiroma said these were terrorists. He termed the West Cameroonians terrorists.
Yes.
They have not evolved from there.
Because
now they're talking of peace. Do you want peace with terrorists?
Barrister.
They first of all owe an apology to the Anglophone population that they call terrorists.
Barrister.
You cannot insult people publicly. Then you come now, you say you're talking peace. What peace?
Okay, Barrister, let's get the semantics correct. How do you call someone who plants bombs and detonates them? How do you call somebody who goes and sets up lists?
How many people have you caught planting and detonating bombs?
Even if you don't catch them, how do you call them, Barrister?
I want to take the example of SCDP Douala. Do you have any evidence anywhere of the identity of the person who planted the bomb at SCDP?
Was the act
terrorist? We have no.
Was the act
I am asking a
terrorist
simple
in
question.
that case, Barrister?
Boko Haram has been present in Douala for the past 3 or 4 years. We are advocates, my colleague knows what I'm talking about. We defend Boko Haram operatives in the military tribunal in Douala. They are in Douala. So, where is the proof that that bomb at Mopi was not planted by Boko Haram, but it was planted instead by someone who phone?
Okay, let's not get off.
We don't have any.
Let's not get off track here. It's interesting as we move on. But Barrister, I know you are nodding in the negative to the declarations made by your colleague, but some have actually gone as far as alleging that some government officials actually set up some of those trade unions that came to meet with the Prime Minister in Bamenda. For example, there's a group called APITAC, which represents travel agencies and so on. It's been non-existent until recently.
The mission that went to the regions have some directives that were given to them by whoever sent them.
Okay.
So I'm sure they went to carry out the mission following those instructions which the Prime Minister received.
Do you suspect that some of those groups did not come from the base?
As of date, you and me don't know who was met and who said what and who didn't say anything.
Okay.
So while waiting for the report of those who went down, I think we should reserve some positive things of what has been done. In as much as we don't like what happened, but we should understand that it's not all bad, because you just quoted people from Gokitunya who sent a 17-point memo.
Call him whatever, right?
So it means somebody was being insulted who was a minister, succeeded because he comes from Gokitunya, and I'm sure he was one who was there.
Can you call names?
Yes, Dr. Gugomo went to Gokitunya. It means his people received him, and he succeeded in having a 17-point memo. So it is not all negative. It's not all in all regions that some of those people were rejected.
Okay.
But in Cameroon, we're in a democracy.
I'll take you to the southwest region, where the peace mission leader was the former Prime Minister and Senator Mafani Musonge, who is currently of the Bilingualism and Multiculturalism Commission set up recently in the wake of the crisis. This is what he said, and I'm quoting the Post newspaper: Anglophones are civilized people who want to develop in peace. Some have said this is a misrepresentation of reality, Barrister.
Everybody has a right to his opinion. A statesman like Pamo Songe should be respected for what he says, because he has experience more than most of other people who run their mouths. I believe we Anglophones are, for one, all of us like to live in peace and develop. Our major issue is we should have structured development the way we like it in our own region, and that's why there's this uproar. So you can't say he's very wrong. To me, he's very right in what he says. We are peace-loving, and on top of that, he says we are not in for secession. I'm sure he made that position too, because he said we love.
The problem is effective decentralization. Did he get it all wrong, Barrister Agbo Emmanuel?
I start wondering whether
is that a misrepresentation of reality?
I start wondering whether the former Prime Minister was stating his personal opinion, or he was reporting what he saw on the field, because. No, I don't know in which part of Southwest he got that statement. There are peace-loving people. Well, that is true. Which really contrasts, because I am still to come to terms with what these people are doing. You say they are peace-loving people, and these are the same people you call terrorists. And you forget that when you brand Anglophones as terrorists, my learned colleague, you are also a terrorist. Because you are an Anglophone. I am also a terrorist. All of us, it's no matter where you are in Cameroon, when they say Anglophones are terrorists, don't take yourself away. All of us are branded terrorists.
No, until you get yourself involved in terrorist
No. They did not say that it was those who are in Southwest and Northwest.
To get those terms defined.
Please.
Who made that statement, please? Who made that statement? Anglophones are terrorists. You see, it's a misconception.
The Senate President held a session and said, these are terrorists. Troops should be sent there.
No, they
Jaja
didn't say
Jiggy was-
Anglophones. There are some people, some Cameroonians who have a different view
Are you
of how to
changing-
handle things.
Are you trying to argue the facts?
Barrister,
that we have on the table?
I am not a terrorist, and nobody can tell me that, and I agree. Nobody can tell me that, and I agree, because I am not.
Okay, so you
I'm
should
ready to affront
ask
anybody
the
who says
citizen government to
Anglophones.
apologize for all those statements.
No.
Barrister,
Nobody.
if we base our
We
argument
want
on-
a way forward. So let's start by
Nobody
apologizing.
said Anglophones are terrorists.
Like the
They
government
said
in
there are
Boya
some
said,
people, there are
call
some
people
persons who are
dogs.
terrorists.
Our
They didn't
government
say-
in Boya call people dogs. You also deny that one?
I challenge him. Besides,
should-
I'm waiting to see the proof of where he said that and when and how and where.
Okay.
Up to date, I'm still waiting for
Okay,
it.
gentlemen, if we
It's easy to
if we
accuse
can
somebody.
calm down a bit, then we'll be able to move ahead. I just let you talk a bit so you could voice
Most
out
obliged,
and
sir.
vent out what you had in your bellies, so we can have space to move on. Because Barrister, if we delve into semantics, we will not be able to move ahead. We're about
Right.
35 minutes gone since the start of the show. But the question, and I still come back to you, is when former Prime Minister Peter Mafani Musonge says that there was this persistent outburst of the form of state from the Southwest region with the majority ready for effective decentralization. Is that watering down reality?
I said I think he was airing his personal opinion and not what he found on the field. I want to remind viewers that after this mission, ghost towns were reported all over, meaning that the population still adheres to some command that is not being given by the government.
Okay.
So if Mr. Musonge said that Southern Cameroon, Anglophones are peace-loving people who want to develop in peace,
Yes.
what is he making of 1st of October? All what we saw. I have videos on Facebook from the Ejagam area where I don't know what he makes of that. People were telling, they say, we don't know gendarme, we don't know SDO, we don't know DO, we don't know army. Go tell Mr. Bia that we don't want any of this. Why doesn't he report what he saw on the field?
He probably only reports what he saw. He probably did not go to.
I'm sure he
Ejagam,
reported
like
what he
you
thinks,
said.
not what he saw.
But Barrister Acho Julius, should the grassroots proposals or demands be made public? Isn't it a mistake when you keep them private? Because former Prime Minister Peter Mafani Musonge actually said the compilation of the proposals from the Southwest were only intended for the eyes of hierarchy. Isn't it a blunder that you keep these demands secret?
Well, the problem is that the government has a strategy as to how to handle the thing. It has put out a strategy. If you don't like
Is
it,
it faulty?
if you don't like it or you think it's faulty, you just have to swallow
What
it.
do you think,
Till the
Barrister?
day
What do you
you
think?
become the government yourself.
What do you think, Barrister?
You
Is
see,
it faulty to
no,
keep such information private?
Personally, this is not the best modus operandi to handle such things to me.
Okay.
Personally, but there's just nothing I can do about it. I can only vomit my own opinion, and that is it. But it doesn't mean anything. But when you look at the global picture, the big picture, the government has decided on a particular strategy. As they're the ones in government, they've decided we'll do it like this. We just have to follow. We don't know what is in their reports. We don't know who has said what. We don't know who contributed. So we just have to wait. Because from what all of us are saying, he received instructions to do certain things. And he's supposed to do what he's done and send instructions and send what they're seeing back to the person who gave instructions.
Okay.
Why you and me were just being speculative. And this is the speculation that destroys this country, because it makes us as if we don't love each other. When we have a prime minister, let the prime minister do his job until he's no longer there. When we have somebody who's in office, the day Mr. Chairman will become president of this country, we have to respect him as president
You
till
must
further
have
notice.
Barrister that information deprivation leads to speculative journalism.
No,
and
you yourself say he received instructions to go and do what he was doing, right? It means he cannot expose this information if the person who instructed him has not yet received it. Administratively, it's very wrong. It is right that he prepares his whatever he has and send to whoever gave him instructions.
Okay.
It's only after that the person gives instructions now is the only person. One thing is good is that he's the one who handles our sovereignty, who can decide to tell us and not to tell us.
Okay. Previously, and when the other attempts at negotiations flopped, critics said they could not understand why conclaves were held in Bamenda, for example, and the final communiques came from Yaoundé bearing the signature of the cabinet director at the Prime Minister's office, Paul Gogo Mingo. And that's how some think that this current flop, in quotes, was predictable and avoidable. Barrister, do you suspect that people within government ranks who are funding the crisis, they don't want it to end at this point in time?
No, I don't think there is any person who does not want the crisis to end. I think they are going about it in their own clumsy manner. Everybody wants this thing to end, but there are some people who don't want to swallow their ego.
Okay.
Their foolish pride and their ego to see reason. They are costing our country so much by standing stubbornly on their foolish points. They ought to see reason. If the population is saying one thing, tell the head of state what the population is saying. Don't give your personal opinion.
Okay.
Because we all know that the Anglophones who are living in southern and northern regions are listening 90% from the diaspora. 90%.
Okay.
So it does not help anybody to come and tell us today that people who hear only from diaspora want federalism. We know their position.
Okay. Now the president is finally back in the country, actually returned home at the weekend. He hasn't been here since these deadly events of September the 22nd, when he coincidentally addressed the United Nations General Assembly in New York on that fateful day. He wasn't there either when there was another bloodbath on the 1st of October. But some say the start to any dialogue begins with the president's return home. It also starts with bringing the genuine leaders of, well, the self-rule struggle to the negotiating table. Because if you leave them out, you're talking with the wrong people.
Who are the right people now? You see, I still hold that when we want to talk about
the
people who represent us are people who have gone through some elections and were voted. We have them. They are there.
So where do you leave? Where do you leave the Agbo Balas? And that's the crucial question.
Where do
These
I
are
leave
the
them?
people who stood at the forefront of the movement when it started in October 2016.
Yes.
If you omit them from that talking table, who are you then dialoguing with?
No, you see, we are in a democracy. Everybody has a right to say what he likes or to feel, to do what he thinks is good. But you see, if you try to tell me that they represent a majority, I will say no, because there's no yardstick. There's no yardstick to say what the mass of the people want, unless there's an election. All what we are saying is speculative. I always say that, because when we see the amount of people that march, for example, I'm being frank, most people march on the TV. I can tell you they're not up to 10,000. Are they only 10,000 Anglophones? Are we talking about that? So you see, I like to be realistic. There are people who want secession, there are people who want federation, and there are people who want decentralization. The only way to determine who is who
is
when there are elections, and nothing else. Not when people are just and say things right or left.
I'll push that speculation a little bit further. Would you vouch for a referendum?
As per our constitution, there's only one person or one body, and another body who can call a referendum in this country is the head of state and the
Is that the definitive start to a solution?
But you see, it's not because you cry that I want referendum that the head of state will accept. The head of state was voted with a project for a limited mandate, for a limited period of time. He's executing his mandate, whether you like it or not. You can decide to say you don't want it to be like this, but in as much as he says, I want it to be like this, we voted him. We have to respect what he says till his mandate is over.
Okay. And apparently the idea of...
Because you see, if we don't respect his mandate, we don't respect him to do what he want, a plan for his mandate. That's how other people will not respect the other person who's going to take over with a mandate, with the project that he has, which has been accepted by the population.
Okay.
So we have to know that, look, when once you are hitting me from behind, I can also hit you from behind.
Okay, Barrister, quickly and very briefly, would you agree, and this may be speculative too, that it takes a trip from President Paul Biya to the English-speaking parts of Cameroon to quench the crisis once and for all?
To me, I've said that is not the solution.
Is it the solution, Barrister?
I fear he will be greeted by ghost town. I fear he will be greeted by ghost town. You see, there are things that he ought to do prior to any visit. We should not fool ourselves. The people are angry.
Yes.
You have not done anything to pacify them.
He has created benches for the common law at the Supreme Court.
Anger is a normal thing. Anger is a normal thing.
Excuse me.
You see, an angry man never reasons.
Please.
So you should allow the people to cool down for reason to take place. Because when you're angry, you can never reason.
For how long would you let them?
That
go
is why
now?
time will
Okay.
tell. Time is the master.
You see, as I was saying, you see, creating a bench at the Supreme Court is, I don't think my colleague will concur with me that is not a nice decision. Anglophones don't have Anglophones don't have that system of having a bench as the highest court.
We
don't have that.
Yes,
Anglophones don't have
the
a
benches.
school to train magistrates. Their magistrates and judges are selected from the bar. You see, look, they are saying that the English legal system has been francophonized. So they should get the right language. Why are the courts not working? Please. There are so many things which are under the ground, people don't want to talk.
The court
Why are
is
the courts
not
not working?
totally working because a couple of lawyers in the southwest region
A
have
couple.
opted to go back.
A
to
couple.
court. Yes.
Are they going?
Some are already in court.
They are going.
They're going to
The
court.
16th of October. So within the ranks of the CPDM, because that's where you militate for politically, why isn't the president braving it to go and address the population?
The president is the master of his own policy. You can't force him to accept your own way of running a country. Otherwise, unless he's no longer president, he has to decide how to run the country, following the mandate that was given to him. I will not accept that he bows down to pressure from any group. Because he bows down to pressure any group means he's not strong enough. Look, the president has the reports that the president have. You and me can never have because he has daily reports from the security services.
Okay.
You can't tell me you have more information in this country about this country more than him. It's not possible.
Okay.
He knows this country and better than you and me because he has all the reports on his table every day.
Okay. With your
So why do you
permission-
think that the small opinion that people might have is represents what the majority think?
Okay.
I'm waiting for elections.
All right. With your permission, gentlemen, I'll lead you to the southwest region and particularly to Boya, the regional headquarters, to meet Ines Daniel Sop, who in the following report tells us that the mission for Peter Mafani Musonge and other members of those delegations was a tricky thing to do.
For over a week, peaceful emissaries have visited different divisions of the Southwest to engage in dialogue with the people. A lasting solution must be found at all costs to bring an end to the Anglophone crisis, which has lasted for almost a year. In Limbe, in the light of this mission, the population is demanding for the return of federalism and the respect of the resolutions taken at the Fumban Conference as prerogative for the return of peace.
The United Nations said they will become independent by joining their brothers. That's simply meant by my understanding that they will enjoy their independence, enjoy their values, enjoy their culture in a nation that is joined together with their brothers. But accounts have had it that we have not been able, as Southern Cameroonians and Anglophone Cameroonians, to feel important as far as Cameroon is concerned. Victoria has contributed enormous towards what Cameroon is today.
The population expressed their grievances, saying they have been marginalized, and equally expressed dissatisfaction over what they refer to as refusal to construct the Limbe deep seaport. For calm to return, the population decries intimidation, demands the release of all those arrested in connection with the Anglophone crisis, and equally ensure the safe return of all those in exile. The team headed by Andrew Motanga, Munchimba, advocate for peace, and calls on parents to continue sending their children to school, shun ghost town, and all forms of violence.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
I'm not sure why we keep on hearing Audio Jungle. Probably there's a problem with our machines, but that's not the sound you're supposed to hear on that jingle. I want to apologize to Ndi Maureen, who is a makeshift producer for Canal Do English Special, and I must remind you that's what you're watching at this point in time, a program in which we try to analyze the political events and go deeper to find out why things happen the way they happen within the contexts we are in. Maureen T, of course, is not chopping my fingers off because Ines Daniel Sop, who is a Boya-based correspondent, actually inputted to her report. Thanks sincerely, Ines Daniel Sop. Now, the fun of is called Fon Sem Binlo III. He actually told Prime Minister Philemon Yang to go back and tell President Paul Biya to come down to the ground and address them. That's where we left off with Barrister. Is that going to be a fixer to the problem?
Well, if you heard the feed from Buya, you understand that there are prerequisites for any meaningful dialogue. I was saying
there's no reason you could always
there are prerequisites. Right? You see, the people are saying that there are things which they were supposed to have, which they don't have. You know, look at the Limbe deep sea port. We all know that Limbe, even from primary school, were taught Limbe deep sea port is the biggest, the deepest natural harbor in Africa. How will a government abandon that one to go develop Kribi? That is a shadow of Limbe.
I probably may tell you why.
And you see, Camerooners,
I probably may tell you why.
The population is saying that that project has to be developed so that their own area too should see development.
Barrister, if you take iron ore from Mini Matap, I mean, you try to compare costs. It is cheaper to take the iron ore from Mini Matap to Kribi than to Limbe. That's a huge deposit of iron ore which could fetch Cameroon huge sums of money. And that's why Kribi is being developed.
You want to look at the advantages of having Limbe deep sea port? You just develop that port and you have a container port in Africa in Limbe. What about that one compared to iron ore coming from Minimata?
Okay, that's an indirect way of indicating that the largely CPDM emissaries, and this is another question, Barrister Achu, are untrusted and unwanted in these negotiations.
No.
The so-called CPDM elite.
You see the contradiction of how things are looked at in Cameroon. A few hours ago, we were saying that the mission was a mess. The mission was uncalled for. The mission was premature and whatever. At the same time, we were saying, His Royal Highness, the Fond of Salt, I said, okay, I want President Paul Biya to come and visit us.
In other words, that's why I'm saying that the mission.
It means that the mission. A message has been sent from the grassroots to the top. The same thing, the chairman, Amadena Singh, just talked about the port of Limbe. It means some message is giving the grassroots to go somewhere. But you see, no. It means that mission that people are criticizing has his good points. Like what he has said yesterday, I just confirmed. That's what I'm saying. So you cannot say the mission was having its place. But as I say, though we can have divergence of opinion, but the Prime Minister and the head of state, they are taking the responsibilities to do what they are supposed to do.
Barrister,
and we have to respect that.
I'm sorry to say this, but you probably are tacitly dodging the question. The question is that these missions are CPDM or base or peace. That's how the Americans say it. There is, if you look at the list, you see that it is overloaded with CPDM militants.
Why am I not there? Am I not a militant?
You're probably unlucky, Barrister. But isn't that a problem? That you have only CPDM people, that you have only Anglophones, when the President of the Republic says Cameroon remains one and indivisible. I would have loved to see Francophones.
Let me ask you a question. Before, what you say is CPDM, have you ever seen the Prime Minister showing a party card? How many ministers have you seen showing party cards?
But I just need to know that the way CPDM
don't just assume. Don't mix up the we are mixing up the administration of this country and CPDM as a political party. Those are two different things. It's not because somebody is appointed that he becomes a member of CPDM.
Barrister, were the missions overloaded with CPDM people?
Well, we have
and is that the problem to the outcome
we have
of what we have?
People resign from other parties and join CPDM because they were given appointments. So I think my
so now he becomes a member. But how many of them?
Appointment. Now, you see,
those didn't change from parties. How do you justify that CPDM members?
You have a point, because if this is supposed to be a reconciliation meeting, a reconciliation.
It is a mission for dialogue. It's not reconciliation. Don't mix it up.
No, a reconciliation.
And it's a fact-finding mission for dialogue. So why?
You're dialoguing with who?
for dialogue. The dialogue is a process. It is a process.
That's why I call
Are you
it
preparing dialogue or you are dialoguing?
Dialogue re-initiation. I think that's better word.
It's a fact-finding mission for dialogue. Prepare dialogue.
To prepare dialogue.
Yeah, prepare that, of course.
Okay.
But we say you didn't develop your.
I'm saying that that mission was supposed to have been made of people who were credible.
What's credibility, Barisa?
People in whom the population believes. Unfortunately, the majority of these people have been vomited by the population. The majority. If you want to doubt, some go to Bangwa land where somebody lost his 3-story building because he was unfortunate to be a member of the meeting of the mission.
How did he lose his
It was burned.
building?
It was burned. The parliamentarian, you know,
So that means that
his house was burned.
So that means that if
Because
CBM,
the population was angry.
that means that
came there.
that means that
Is that who you're
yes,
talking
no,
about?
it's true.
All right.
That means that if CBN lose elections there, some other party comes to place, we CBN should burn his own house. Is that how we do
We are
politics?
saying that they ought to have taken.
Is that those are things that are unreasonable. You don't do that.
Credibility.
Why do you burn somebody's house?
Okay.
Because of difference of opinion. It is not fair.
You kill people because of difference of opinion.
When you kill people, take your responsibilities. You kill my
You
brother.
deny now, you kill and deny.
We have the courts for
I'm
what?
not sure you are insinuating that it
Talking
is
about what? We have the law courts for what?
people because of differences
CPDM government.
of opinion.
No, I'm just asking. This guy came with his opinion and said, look, I want us to do it this way. You burn his house.
Okay.
Does that mean if he loses elections, some other party comes in and you people are still not angry, you are still angry, you burn his own house too?
Okay.
Is that what you want? You want that the country should be like that?
Let's observe.
That is not correct. It's not
Barrister,
correct.
with your
It's not fair.
Let us observe another brief respite, and I'll be taking you over to Bamenda through the eyes and ears of Gladys Ambo. And if I don't say Ndibang, I may run into fresh problems. Gladys Ambo Ndibang are Douala-based. Banso desk correspondent and chief is going to lead us down to the Northwest region, and her report ties around ghost town operations that probably foiled the missions and the peace missions to that part of the country. Let's hear her.
That they want the head of state to visit this region and talk to the people and actually let us feel that he is the father of the nation and that we are part of this family. So with all this, I am convinced that by the grace of God, things will be better in the future.
After sojourning for over a week, going through the 7 divisions of the Northwest region, bearing a message of peace and reconciliation to socio-professional groups, Prime Minister Philemon Yang and those he consulted with behind closed doors were optimistic that the ghost town phenomenon would disappear by the next day after the evaluation meeting that also held behind closed doors.
From 1st October, again after this trip down here in the Northwest and also in the Southwest, I think people are now listening. You know, a few months ago, you could not carry out a serious discussion with somebody, explaining your own opinion and listening to his or her opinion. Right now, we've been able to carry out concrete discussion. They have been able to air their opinions. And I think the gathering of all these divergent views as to the future of the state of this country is enough to make me believe that we have a way forward now.
Surprisingly, the Prime Minister, who was still in Bamenda on Monday, after driving through some streets, was surely shocked to see that the streets were empty, roadside businesses shut, and thousands of market sheds locked. This could wholly or partially be explained by the fact that just a selected few have been meeting the PM, much to the disappointment of some entire groupings who suspect foul play with rumors of bank notes having exchanged hands. Also, journalists were not allowed to even come near the meeting venue. This has given birth to individual speculation in beer parlors and the social media machinery, replacing verified and certified conventional media reporting. Surprising that even ministers, directors and other top state functionaries are running away from TV cameras. At the time of this report, some motorcycle riders were already casting doubt on those who are said to have represented them in the meeting. Similarly, a transporter syndicate is challenging the authenticity of another syndicate which was invited to represent them at the meeting. With the common man not understanding what has been transpiring ever since this other phase of talk started and ended, so they are left in the darkness of information, reason why the stalemate seems to persist as the common man does not know the outcome of the consultations. Many have asked what becomes of those who have so far been calling the shots in this Anglophone problem, while others want the number one citizen to descend to the field and talk to them. Thank God he is back from the 72nd United Nations Summit. Anything can happen from now.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
As Gladys Ambon Deepak says, thank God the President of the Republic is back and anything can happen. Amit Bala, you are a permanent consultant, a jurist and political analyst. Thanks for coming once again.
Thanks, Ivan.
Anything can happen because the President is back. Do you see something happening?
Anything can happen, of course. He is the President of the Republic, the head of state. He has the arm and the knife.
Right.
Though very unpredictable, and though they made us understand that this is somebody who is omnipresent,
Omniscient,
as self-declared government spokesperson, because to understand.
I have a problem with that because I don't think you stand up within the ranks of government and say you are the spokesperson. I mean, there's a tacit appointment that puts you there. Okay, let's move on. I'm sorry.
I'm coming to that. So now that his physical person is here in Cameroon, precisely at HUD, we may expect anything to happen.
Okay, but do you see him descending to Bamenda or Boya as the grassroots are clamoring for?
You know, President Paul Biya is, as I was saying earlier, is very unpredictable.
Barrister Achu Julius was saying the same thing.
So, we don't yet know. And when you are dealing with somebody who is seen as ruling Cameroon, not managing, that is a ruler in Cameroon, then seeing him going down to meet the people, I think it's going to be very difficult.
Okay.
That has never happened in Cameroon.
I was mentioning this a while ago. The phone of source, His Majesty Sam Binglo actually told Prime Minister Philemon Yang to go tell President Paul Biya that they want to see him come personally and talk to them as a means of triggering a genuine start to a dialogue. Indira, welcome back.
Thank you very much, Divine.
Is that where the solution probably lies?
Well, I think it's the start of a solution, because if for those who can remember very well, the people of the Northwest and Southwest regions have been calling on President Biya since this matter started in October 2016. They have been clamoring, hoping, expecting that he's going to maybe address the people or come down to the Northwest or the Southwest regions of the country to talk one-on-one with the people. I think, like he was saying, he is unpredictable. The head of state is unpredictable. It will be a good thing if he can, for once, surprise the people, take himself down to either the Northwest or the Southwest regions and talk to the people about this issue. I think it will be a very logical end or a very logical start to a solution.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I think we're going to be going to the machines once again to listen to a couple of reactions from Kumbo right after the talks ended. But I think we will hang on a while and continue with our discussions here as our technicians get set with their feet. So he has been blacklisted and most times written off by his detractors, who say he's one of those attempting to seize advantage of the protracting crisis to reap political capital and probably reposition himself within the corridors of power. And I'm precisely talking about Dr. Simon Monzu. He's a former UN scribe and advisor. He is initiator of what we all now know as the Anglophone Dialogue Forum. But Simon Monzu has remained unwavering, in his criticism of the government's handling of the crisis. And in a recent outing, he questions in depth why innocent lives have been lost, why people have seen their properties wrecked, why a couple of people still are held in detention, and yet the Prime Minister, who hails from the Northwest region, is mute, opts for sealed lips, and then only comes to try to initiate dialogue.
This is the problem in Cameroon ever since we Anglophones who were even before Prime Minister Yang, who occupied the same post. All what they are concerned is their own personal interest. So you not expect the Prime Minister to do or say against his own personal boss. By the way, nobody buys a finger that fits him. And I want to go back to 1960. That's how it even started with the Fonchas and the Munas, who all what they did was to protect their own personal interests to the detriment of thousand Anglophones. So it's not going to be surprising to see Mr. Yang following their footsteps just to protect his position.
Okay, and some say all what Dr. Simon Munzo is doing is struggling to protect his own position. I mean, he has been within the corridors of power and probably is using this as a means of repositioning himself within those same corridors of power.
Which is another problem that we're facing with this crisis. We see all barons who were once forgotten trying now to look for a place under the sun. We have Simon Munzo. I can even mention the Munzos, the Munas even,
Yes.
and a host of others.
In fact, Akere Muna insists on the fact that he is going to challenge President Paul Biya if constitutionally slated elections unfold in 2018. Indira, according to him, and we're talking about Dr. Simon Munzu, Prime Minister Yang, and I asked this question previously, should have gone to condole with his bereaved brethren in his native Northwest rather than wait to be instructed to do so by the President of the Republic.
Well, I think that is not coming as a surprise because, Cameroon we have a presidential system in Cameroon. Everything comes from the president. So I think the Prime Minister going to the Northwest or the Southwest region is not a personal initiative. That's what I think. I believe he was delegated by the head of states to do so. And like he was saying rightly, he cannot disrespect his hierarchy, his direct boss. He cannot tell the president, no, I will not go to the Northwest or the Southwest region. Now, I want to say, despite him being an Anglophone, despite him maybe feeling the pinch too, despite him feeling the pain of his people, he cannot outrightly go against the regime. He's part of the regime. He cannot outrightly go against the regime. I think that makes he's kind of on a hot seat because he cannot say yes, he cannot say no. He has to work, he has to do his job, in other words. He's merely doing his job.
He's doing his job by respecting the presidential instruction to go and reinitiate dialogue in those parts of the country. But would it be political suicide? And this is a delicate question, rather. Would it be political suicide if he initiates this by himself? After all, he is head of government, in quotes.
Well, he is head of government, and logically one would think that he can initiate a dialogue like this. Firstly,
he may not refuse to go,
yes,
but he could
on his own he could do that. But, the circles in which, the way Cameroon is run, it's very difficult to see an individual stand up, taking a personal initiative to do something, especially when it's an issue of national concern. The Anglophones are asking for some want federation, others want secession. It's not something that an individual can, because I think Prime Minister Yang, as an individual, there is something he has in mind. He should have a position in all of this. But he cannot now come out and tell us that this is my position. I want federation, I want secession, or I want a one and indivisible.
For as long as he stays in government.
Of course.
They only speak when they're no more in government. That's what they start saying.
Definitely. We see like the Munzos and others who are not part of the regime, or they're not officially part of the regime. They can tell us that I want this, I want that, let's do this, let's do that. But once they're appointed, officially, they have a portfolio. They cannot stand and tell us that, let's go for federation or let's go for secession. It's not possible.
Of course, if you cite such examples, you will get to the Marafa Hamidou Yayas who only had
Of
to be
course.
kicked out of government before they started backing against the same government they served short while.
And let's not leave out the Minister of Communication, who once upon a time was against the regime, and today he's singing praises.
And I'm also who even made good use of the private media, and now he's trying to stop others of using the same media to air their own.
Well, according to Dr. Simon Munzu, Cameroon is one and indivisible, and I deliberately called the names of the likes of Marafa Hamidou Yaya because Hamid Bala. If Cameroon is one and indivisible, you would normally expect to see Cameroonians of French-speaking fabric or extraction be in the delegations that goes to the northwest and southwest regions.
That's what we
reinitiate dialogue.
That's what we even said. If you read Jean-Marie Atankana Bibaga, how should I put it? Is it a report, a write-up? Okay. Jean-Marie made a write-up where he made mention of that this crisis, the delegations were sent to the English regions were wrong persons.
Okay.
We ought to have taken people from the civil society, both Anglophones and Francophones. People like this former governor,
Aboué
Machoy, Crystal Cardinal Toumi, even Francophones from the north, and send to meet the people if and only we are one and indivisible.
Okay, so now it's not clear that the problem is just Anglophone and not Cameroonian anymore, right?
Definitely, from all indications, because the delegations, countless delegations have been sent since October last year, and they are all comprised of Anglophones.
In the meantime, there are very outspoken French-speaking Cameroonians on this matter.
Who really understand the problem and will propose lasting solutions. I don't know why the Francophones are being left out of it, because some of the problems raised by the English-speaking parts of Cameroon, or by English-speaking Cameroonians, concern Cameroon in general. Now, when they talk of bad governance, when they talk of lack of roads, you know, when they talk of failed decentralization system, it touches the whole of Cameroon. It does not only touch the northwest and the southwest regions of the country. I think everybody should be involved. When they talk of, you know, national dialogue, you know, to dwell on the Anglophone problem, everybody should be involved. Okay. Somebody from the far north region, somebody from the east region can propose something which will, you know, bring lasting solutions to the problems of our country.
And if you don't mind, we'll make an attempt to revisit our machines to see if D. Maureen has cued the reactions from Kimbo, that's Kumbo, as some call it, the regional capital of the Bui division in Cameroon's northwest regions. That's one of the 13 divisions that was crisscrossed by some of the peace crusaders deployed by the government. Thanks to Lambert Kevin. Let's have some reactions before we move on to the second talking point.
So my take, in fact, from the interactions he had with the various groups and the conversations they had, the discussions they had, you see, there is one thing which came out. There is nobody who likes violence. All we're talking about peace, and the dialogue is actually what is necessary. So I think, to me, I would think that the call for the head of state to, first of all, talk to the people is actually genuine. And secondly, let there be frank dialogue in which we get the main protagonists on board. Yeah, irrespective of somebody's religious, political, or social leanings. So we get everybody on board, get their worries and see how to address them. Because in actual fact, there is no house that hasn't got a crack. But when there's a crack on the wall, they try to mend it. You cannot pull down the structure because there's a crack on the wall.
I would simply say that the visit was a total sham. A total sham because the Prime Minister and his team, they knew exactly what is going on. And it was unreasonable for him even to come to Kumbu and pretend that they are bringing a message of peace and love from the head of state. He himself, he is part of us. He ought to, after witnessing what passed, the killings, the torture, the looting, the destruction by the forces of law and order, he, as the first elite of this part of the country, would have come himself, not waiting for the head of state to say he should come. To us, that indeed, they were simply pretending that they are coming with a message of peace. Why others are still in the jails? Why people are still lying in the mortuary? Why we are still looking for others that are still missing? That, to me, was a total sham. And personally, I was invited to be part of the meeting. But when I got there, I discovered that they were playing gimmicks. You cannot mix up groups. You ask for the local authorities to come and unveil their mind about what has happened, about what can push this country forward. But then you bring in another group of politicians of the ruling party, in their great numbers, so to come and solve us. So we said no, we cannot be part of it, and we are not part of the meeting, and we left the place.
My first reaction is it is difficult to say exactly why the PM was here. One would consider it a consultative meeting, so to say. Others think he came here for something like dialogue, but I don't think it is something similar to dialogue. We listened to the PM, he made his introduction, and I listened with a second mind. And I must confess that I am not a satisfied reporter, so to say. First thing, I was expecting our PM, son of the soil, to at least condole with those families that lost their loved ones in their teens. I would have expected the PM to sympathize with those young people who were wounded on the 1st of October and with those who lost property, because we moved around and we know how much property was lost by people, many of whom were even innocent of what was happening. We have cases of those who are hospitalized. I would have expected our PM, I mean our father, to at least say Asha, as we say, to his people. Unfortunately, it seemed like the PM was blaming every other person in the Northwest for being responsible for what has befallen us. In any case, I think he listened to the various shades of opinion. You had the funds, you had the mayors, you had politicians, and all of that. You had the media well represented. We might not have been able to say all what we had in mind, because each speaker was given only 2 minutes to say one thing or the other. And though I was chosen to speak, I found difficulties expressing my mind, because where truth is concerned, you don't hurry over it. I think this is an opportunity for me.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Thanks once again for staying on with us. This is Canal Day English Special, where we make an attempt to make sense out of burning political issues. And the International Crisis Group, that's a non-profit organization which works across the world to pinpoint and propose cushions to potential troubled spots worldwide, has warned in a recent alert that the current crisis plaguing Cameroon's, English-speaking Northwest and Southwest regions bears the risk of steering this country very close to the brinks of an armed conflict. The wake-up call, Indira, is contained in an October 19 alert, authored, of course, by a Cameroonian. He's called Hans de Marie Hengup, who works for the ICJ. Is that a logical conclusion to make after a year-long crisis, which is still evolving?
I think it is a logical, very logical conclusion to make, because with what is happening, people are dying from maybe, I don't know, the causes are not very clear, but people are dying. If we see what happened in the Northwest and Southwest regions on the 22nd of September, on the 1st of October, We lost some lives there. And if things continue like this, there'll be another uprising, there'll be another instance where people will be killed. And things can pull for as long as we've seen in other countries. South Sudan, for example, there is still no peace. Yes, for so many years. And even after the breakaway, they're still having shake-ups, they're still having, I don't know if I'll call it war. And if things continue, it's been a year already in Cameroon, October 2016, October 2017, it's been a year already. And if things continue like this with no solution, with no way forward, I think some parties may profit from what is happening in the northwest and southwest regions, and instability can come from that.
It's good to tell our viewers that report from the International Crisis Group, abridged the ICJ, has attracted a stinging reaction from the communications person. From the communications person at the Ministry of Defense. It's called Colonel Bajek Didier. We're going to come to him in the next couple of moments. But is this a feasibility, Amit Bala, that the crisis spills over into an armed struggle?
You know, in any crisis, we should expect
the worst.
We should expect the worst.
And probably maybe the best.
Anything can happen, as well as why not the best if the power that be, the authority that be is
proactive enough to find
solutions to the problem that they keep on ignoring.
But let's talk about the worst.
Well, the worst can happen, though the regime is doing everything to
trigger a dialogue. Is that what you want?
To trigger dialogue, and even portraying this crisis as an Anglophone issue, as an Anglophone. Let me say, by calling Anglophones names, terrorists, dogs,
he said the same
and
thing.
the reason behind this is just to give the Francophones on the other side a bad image of the Anglophones border. In other words, causing a division, first of all, amongst the Anglophones and the Francophones, because we all know that Francophones face the same problem as Anglophone.
Okay.
Though Anglophones case may be worse. So the government now is doing everything to make sure that the worst does not happen.
Okay. Now, Indira, is there a possibility that even if this thing boiled down into an armed struggle, it could spill over into Francophone zones of Cameroon?
It could.
He is raising that timidly, but I think
it could spill out into Francophone zones because, like he said, the problems that people in the northwest and southwest regions of the country are facing are not remote, are not limited to that part of the country. The problems are faced all over Cameroon. Everyone is feeling a pinch somewhere. If you're not, everyone has a problem in Cameroon.
National integration is seriously in jeopardy, threats of jeopardy.
We have a serious problem of social amenities. We have a problem of healthcare. We have so many problems, and every Cameroonian can relate to one of these problems. And I think that if the situation is not managed well, like Amit was saying, if it's not managed well, it could spill over. Because there are people in other parts of the country, in the littoral, in the center, in the north, in the far north, who are also, they are hoping that this situation may bring out the best in Cameroon. Or this situation may push for change in Cameroon, may push for a better future for Cameroonians, especially for the youth.
Maybe also, as you know, we are living in a regime where a little tribe, has concentrated so much power.
Name it.
The Beti
clan.
The Beti clan concentrated so much power in the hands. You can't imagine that in you can't imagine that in more than the 50 SZOs that we are having, more than 50% come just from the same tribe.
Okay.
You can imagine, if you take the investment budget just for the south, I mean the south region where the president comes from, just from the south, the investment budget is more than that of the northwest and southwest region. Put together, and this is not fair. This is what we are saying. If you look at the CEOs, that is what they call Director General of public companies, you see that more than 80% of these GMs come from one region, center and south. Another problem again in Cameroon, we only concentrate Cameroon in between Douala and Yaoundé, forgetting the east, the far north, and the Anglophones and Anglophone region. These are some of the problems that the people
those are
about.
I mean, that's delicate, but those are incentives enough for Francophones to join Anglophones in their clamors against marginalization?
Of course, these are enough reasons, there are more than enough reasons for everybody to rise up in Cameroon. But then again, we would want to say Cameroonians are peace-loving people. Cameroonians are scared of war. Cameroonians do not want a situation where they will not be able to get up, to a peaceful environment, where they will not be able to go to work or go to the markets or go to church. Cameroonians do not want that kind of situation. They are hoping, many people are hoping that by some stroke of luck, by divine intervention, things will work out well. And I think that's not the way to go. We need to hit the nail on the head. We need to get up and say, these are the problems we are facing and we need solutions. If we cannot have solutions today, tell us how we're going to have solutions in 2 years, in 3 years. I think people will be happy to know that we are looking forward to a brighter future, which is not too far, which is close by. I think many people will be happy to have that in Cameroon. Like it has started in the northwest and southwest regions. I'll repeat, if it's not managed properly, it will spill
over into the other parts
Definitely.
of the country. And that's why once again for coming.
It's always a pleasure.
Thanks, Hamid.
Thanks.
We'll take a break now and bring back the two legal minds on the panel. Hopefully they'll keep it the best for the last. I'm not saying this was not the best though. Thanks once again for coming and see you on Friday.
Thank you.
Let's take a respite and get the legal brains on the panel.
Audio Jungle. 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 Audio Jungle.
And so our makeshift producer Andy Morin says we have less than 5 minutes to go. But I tell you, thanks and due to popular pressure, we cannot go without bringing them back. People have been reacting to your previous interventions, baristas. Welcome back, Barrister Agbo Emmanuel Ashu.
You're welcome.
Is it a distant possibility, spillover of this thing into armed conflict?
No, I don't think it's not distant at all. We have to remember that currently we have Cameroonian refugees in Nigeria. It has never happened before. We are having it now. And in fact,
people who have fled the country into Nigeria.
We see it on social media. Cameroonian children and women who are in Nigeria.
But do you believe everything you read on social media, Barisa?
They are in Nigeria.
All right.
They are there. It's a fact.
Okay.
It is not UN refugee, UNHR have also taken them. Yes, they have taken them. They are taking care of them. We cannot deny it.
Okay.
So in fact, this is something that we have to be very careful about. Again, the Anglophone diaspora is very powerful. I want this government to put everything it has on the table to make sure that this problem is solved without or before the Anglophone diaspora pushes us into an armed conflict.
Okay.
We should be very careful with that.
Now, Colonel Didier Bajek, who is spokesperson for Cameroon's army, says this is another indication of people intending to use the crisis to destabilize Cameroon, Barrister.
Yes, he's not very far from the truth, because when the atmosphere is unclear, there's a possibility of persons coming in for various reasons to destabilize the situation, the country. When it comes to the art of war, I don't see the ingredients put in place, because what we have so far is a clash of opinions, a clash of way of saying things. And when you have such a clash of saying things, and the way the government is structuring it is in the form of, well, struggling to get dialogue with people who matter. But you see, not everybody.
That's where the problem begins.
I'm coming to it. And we see, at one point in time, some people think that those who are involved in the dialogue are not the people who matter. You have divergence of opinion. And once you have that type of division, it is not a conducive atmosphere for war, because you come to war when what you are fighting for, everybody is not with you, you can't go very far.
Okay. And now,
you understand? Then secondly, Cameroon is a peace-loving country.
For how long is it going to be peace-loving?
For as long as the war will last, because we don't like disorder, we don't like war, we like peace. Okay. We cherish our peace, okay. And that's why we've been voting Biya ever since he's been there. Okay. Otherwise, what else?
Among his vehement denunciations, Barrister Agbo, Colonel Bajek Didier actually says that the report from the ICJ is pro-colonialist. And there's a copycatting from previous reports by groups of the likes of Amnesty International, Jeune Afrique, and so on.
Well, I will not blame him. He's a soldier. He doesn't know much about international affairs. He's a soldier. All he knows is the gun. He doesn't know much about international affairs.
Barrister,
it is not scandalous.
Let
me tell you, he ought to go back to the drawing board and look at the things we have on the table. These Ambazonians, or what do you call them? They have the financiers. They've signed contracts with people who are capable of giving them huge amounts of money. We should look, Mr. Bajek should be careful. We have this possibility of this Canadian firm giving a lot of money to these people and giving them mercenaries and guns.
Okay.
Biafrans were able to stage a war because Total gave them the weapons. And you see, we have this already in place. You have the population that is already listening to the diaspora that has signed contracts with these people. Why are they thinking that it is not possible for this thing to shift into an armed conflict?
Okay.
The economy has to be very careful.
Now let's move out of this and we'll move on with our programs on Canal de English. Barrister Achujios, the ICJ blames the international community for opting for passiveness while the situation degrades in Cameroon.
Who is the ICJ to decide for the world? We have United Nations, please. ICJ is just a group of.
Would you love to see the?
It's just a group of pressure. It's just a pressure group.
That's one of the proposals from the ICJ for the UN to be.
No, you see, you see, they are blaming the international community. My problem is that it's like you sitting here and decide to blame the international community, or Canal decides to blame the international community. ICJ group is just an opinion. There are opinion leaders who think that what they say is the gospel truth, as easy as that. But it's not because they say it. It means that what they're saying is true. Those things can be verified. It's an NGO. They are doing business by saying things like that, by raising crisis. When there are no crisis, a crisis group will not be existing. So they will like that. There will be crisis. It's like somebody who fixes coffins. We like that people should die.
Yeah, okay. In other words,
if people don't die, it will not be in business.
And this is how we conclude.
Crisis group, there are no crisis. The group will not exist.
All right.
That's it. As easy as that.
And thanks for bringing along such verbal dexterity. Barrister, in other words, there's no need to be scared. We are in peace in Cameroon. Despite the
there is need to be we really have to be scared. This problem has to be solved before it gets off hand.
All right.
Because as I was saying, all the ingredients are present for an armed conflict to kick off. We have these people who have signed contracts that everybody has seen them. They are there. The oil is there that these people can sell and can sell and make their money.
Okay.
So please, we should not play with it. Let the government be serious. Solve this problem. Listen to the cry of the people. Give them what they are asking for, so that the problem can go into oblivion.
Okay, even though there is disagreement on what should be given to who, considering that
if you ask the right people, if you ask the right people, you will not say there is disagreement, because my learned colleague here and myself, we are all in Douala here. Who has ever asked our opinion?
Okay.
Can you tell me, sir?
That's why
nobody has ever asked you.
And we are the right people.
So many elites.
Finally, Barrister.
Divine, you are here. Nobody has ever asked your opinion.
Barrister.
They rush to Lady Alem. leaving you here.
Barrister, I must not tell you how many times I've been consulted on this issue because that's probably
You're a very lucky man.
confidential
I have never been
material.
consulted.
Let's leave it here and pick up from here next Friday. Barrister, you're coming?
Always invite me and I'll be here.
Thanks very much for your participation. I bet you this is about one of the most interesting I've presented here. Thanks once again for coming, Barrister.
The pleasure is mine.
Must tell our listeners that gradually you are clearing the controversy that keeps on looming over your identity and your personality. Thanks to Amit Bala for coming. Thanks especially to Indira Eteng for being a part of the panel tonight. Thanks especially to Ndi Maureen, who is making a marvelous job as our makeshift producer. That's not our basic job at Canal de English. Thanks to Roland Lebja, to Frank Nonga, to Patrick Chamani, to Emmanuel Bevrika. Thanks to the entire Canal de English team. And I must tell you that at exactly 7 p.m. tonight, you can watch Barrister Ntum for Nico Hale. He preaches peace for about 58 minutes because, of course, today the United Nations is celebrating its 72nd existence anniversary. Stay tuned. In between, there are interesting things coming up. Kejan Henry comes up with the news at exactly 8 p.m. Cameroon time. Thanks for being our reliable partners. Until very soon, bye-bye.